Remember the 5th of November, comic book characters and plot. I'm trying to do a tie-in because it's Guy Fawkes night
Yeah, I
over
was
here.
about to say, it's your favorite night, we've established this.
Exactly. So I thought I'd tie it. One of the things what we're going to talk about on this episode. If you're on the sweepstake of whether we talk about the prog, congratulations. Get your dabber out. Put down. They talk about the prog because we're talking about prog 2457. He said checking
It's
two four
always a
five seven.
gamble.
And specifically, we're talking about Brass Sun, about the overlap of fantasy and sci-fi, and spoiler alert, Chloe's very bad opinions.
The best part is I'm like, "Which ones?" Like, you could have I don't know what you're talking about, but I suspect you're right. It's
Wow, what an episode we have in store for you, Earthlets. This is In Orbit every Wednesday.
Get 2000 AD now. Get to.
It's not that I do, it's not that I do it on purpose, but I do think it brings something to the intros when I get to make you speechless in some way, shape, or
when you
form.
get to dunk on me like an asshole,
No, whether I dunk on you, whether I ask you a question that you weren't expecting, anything like that
you're
works perfect.
establishing my bimbo credibility is what it is.
I'm gonna leave this in. I'm gonna leave this bit in. Um, Borak Thung, Earthlets, and welcome to In Orbit every Wednesday, the official podcast of 2000 AD, the galaxy's greatest comic. I am your host, Molch-R, and this is your host, KLO-E. And this is a half an hour or thereabouts about the galaxy's greatest comics.
Must
Well, just to clarify, we're umming and ahhing about we're questioning the half an hour aspect, not the galaxy's greatest comics
Yeah,
aspect. Um,
that part's true. The half an hour is suspect every single time.
I mean, last week we had Rob Williams on to talk about Red Dragon, which was a great chat, and actually we pretty much hit the half an hour, and then we just started rambling for about 5 minutes at the end of the episode,
Yeah.
unable to kind of round things off, and then Rob went, "Did we not finish 5 minutes ago?"
Big shout out. I wish I had my blue sky up right now, but shout out to the person who is like my partner who is not a 2000 AD listener says that Chloe gets a pass for not knowing anything about whales. We tried.
Well, I did enjoy the individual who did not listen to the episode, but implied that we would take the piss out of the Welsh, which
Right.
like
We have a Welsh guy on this week.
exactly. I just the world of comments best ignored.
It's
Um,
oh, and can I just say,
mm.
Mike, I really like your shirt this
Oh,
week.
thank you very much. It's new, don't you know?
Ooh, ooh.
For those watching on YouTube, it is a in orbit every Wednesday T-shirt.
Look at that
Um,
lanky, lanky frame.
how dare you? Um, uh, because I've got this in anticipation of Thought Bubble, which is in a week. Oh my god, is in a week and a half's
Yeah.
time. Um, when Chloe and I will be there to podcast away and do interviews and certainly on her part cause chaos. And there is considering we are Lanky and the Gremlin, I have over there yours,
Yeah.
which is like this tiny scrap of fabric with the logo on the front. So you know,
I'm really looking forward to everybody being shocked at how short I am. That's the one thing because I've done so many, like, different podcasts and stuff, or people have interacted with me online, and then they meet me in person, and they go, "You're a lot shorter than I thought you'd be," and I always go, "Thanks." Like,
and of course I'm the opposite. Like
yeah, we it really is an Abbott and Costello sort of
I
situation.
I I do remember. So I put the idea of this podcast to you at Rose City Comic Con last year, and you were sat down at a table next to Simon Bisley,
Mhm.
and I said, I need to talk to you about something. Can you come over here? And you came out from behind the table, and I to make sure that we had some element of discretion and confidentiality, I fully had to bend over to talk to you to bring me even near your head level. So
Yeah.
it is quite the comical contrast, Earthlets. Um, before we crack on with the actual theme of this episode, because again, I'm looking at the counter ticking along, going hit half an hour. I will direct your attention, Earthlets, to this box with the Dread badge on the front. Uh, Treasure within. What you find is the Judge Dredd collectible coin, and I've been asked by my colleagues at Rebellion to give this a bit of a plug. A collectible coin, limited edition, 1 ounce of silver, purest silver,
Nice.
from 101 Collectibles, and it comes in this snazzy little presentation box. And the, I mean, these are actually going like hotcakes, which is whenever we do merch that I'm not expecting, like we do the obvious, like mugs and t-shirts and whatnot, but then just occasionally we'll do a deal with someone else, and you think, is this going to work or isn't it going to work? And this is working apparently, based on sales. So you get this little pure silver Dread badge with like
Mm.
collectible badge, and it's got the kind of, the lighting in here is terrible, but like the details of what it is on the back, and kind of the minting mark, or whatever it is. And so this is this is the first ever kind of collectible coin thing that we've
Yeah,
ever done,
and you
which
know
is
what? We're all really just magpies. The world's going up in flames, everything's terrible. Get something shiny that will make
yeah.
you happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And there's 1,000 of these, and was it struck from pure investment grade silver. So I have to give this back. Now, the vast majority of merchandise that enters this house never leaves. Um, like I've got my stack of Apex editions and what, because I get printers copies of everything, so they kind
Mm.
of build it in the corner. But this one I literally have to return because it's worth quite a lot of money. So do go along to the Rebellion shop, which is shop.rebellion.com. You can also order internationally, even if you are in the States. Where somewhere where perhaps precious metals might be really important fairly soon. Um, Moving on. I want to talk about Brass Sun because we
Oh,
haven't
oh,
really,
oh,
and
do you
I
now? You wanna
yes, we do, we do. On a previous episode, I said it was 12 years since the last story, but I was very rapidly
and then
corrected. I think it's only
someone
about,
completely proved you wrong
oh yeah,
within 2 minutes.
and really every episode of this show should come with a disclaimer that Molch-R is probably wrong.
Oh,
Um,
I mean, we've both been proven wrong on so many things just by, like, people in the comments, and I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'm super glad that we're the people doing this job. Woo woo." So I mean, honestly, thank you to people that actually correct us, because 'cause you're just making us better at doing this.
I mean,
Flying by the
they're
seat of
making
our
you better. I just get worse over time.
pants.
In my way to the grave.
But Brass Sun, in your very best Veruca Salt impression, just being like, "I want to talk about I want to talk about Brass Sun." So
Veruca Salt.
yeah.
How rude.
"Daddy, I want to talk about Brass Sun. I want it now."
I'm in charge here. I'll have you know.
Are you now?
Um, yes, Brass Sun, because it has been a while since it's been in the prog, and it's one of those stories which I think, because it is like a genre mashing story, beautifully drawn. I think actually it deserves us just having a chat about it.
Mhm.
Really. um, because I think it is emblematic of what 2000 AD can do well and
Yeah.
has done well for a very long time, which is um, it can blend genres, but that's not the most important thing about the story, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So, you can say, "Oh, this is a mashup of high fantasy and hard sci-fi," but it's so much more than that. It is greater than the sum of its parts.
Mhm.
And um, we we were chatting just before we started recording about that genre of science fantasy,
Yeah.
um, and really, Brass Sun is one of those stories, and not just in terms of the genres it mixes, but also the way it tells a story and the characters. Really puts me in mind of Philip Pullman and the His Dark Materials series, which, of course, the latest book is either out or imminent. Rounding everything off, my better half is a massive fan of His Dark Materials, and but even she was like the Guardian review. No, was it the Telegraph review or something like that? Calls this like one of the greatest books of all time, which is even she's like, calm down,
Yeah.
like, come
Take a
on.
step back, take a moment.
But it's it's not just enough to mix the genres. You've got to do something interesting within it. And Brasson is such a unique setting. It reminds me of something like Gormenghast.
Mhm.
Um, but then the characters, Ren, for my money, is very much like Lyra in his Dark Materials, and
I can see that.
because it's restarted and with a new series, and we've got Ren as an older character. She has physically aged. She is different. She is not the little girl who went off on the quest. She's now, effectively being hunted and up against her former friend. And yeah, this series of Brass Sun is just reminding me why I loved Brass Sun so much from its first few stories.
Well, and it's nice because kind of to what you're saying about that of it being a genre mashup, it's really seamless. I feel
Yeah.
like when you get any kind of genre mashup, really, you can kind of see where one genre starts and another stops, and it can be a little bit choppy, which
Mm.
doesn't make it bad, I might add. I'm a big fan of a lot of different genre mashups, things all across comics, movies, etc. But um I feel like Brass Sun is a great example of how these things do go together,
Mm.
and it's making each of the involved genres richer because of the other thing.
Yeah.
And it's just it's one of those series that you can't, if you're a fan of either, you can't go wrong with it
Mm.
because
Mm.
it's bolstered. Um, and yeah, that's actually I like your His Dark Materials thing. I didn't even think of that. I kind of went more, like Solaris. I think
Oh, the
I brought that up, oh god, Tarkovsky? Is that what it is? I can never
Tarkovsky. Yeah,
say
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Tarkovsky. Yeah, it kinda gives me that sort of vibe because there's a little bit of spookiness to it. There's an
Mm. Mm.
unease involved, but I think that kinda comes with the sci-fi fantasy mashup as well. Um
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And there's the for me, and we've dwelt on this subject before as well, about kind of folk horror and the revival of folk horror, and the slightly uncanny, the slightly unsettling, the worlds in which um, there is the recognizable, but
Mhm.
it is sufficiently different to just it's a little bit uncanny valley, you know? And,
Yeah.
with, just to belabor the Philip Pullman, angle, I live in Oxford, and it is always strange to live in a place, not to be a tourist. There's Oxford is a lot more than just the colleges and the centre, but to have somebody come and take recognizable elements and move them around and sort of,
Yeah.
make them something else. I haven't read it, but Babel was recommended to me recently. It's a novel by R.F. Kuang, set in a fantastical version of Oxford in 1830s England. And similarly, that is a kind of uh, yeah, that's kind of science fantasy where it's all about words being magical,
Oh, okay.
in many way, and there's this whole thing about magical silver bars, and it fuels Britain's colonial expansion and all this, that, and the other.
That sounds
And so that,
so much up your alley, it might be
oh,
painful.
it is, it is. I really need to reading for pleasure. I don't understand.
Who
Um,
does that? Who has time for that? Here, I just had a kind of a big brain thought. We'll see if
ooh,
it works out for me.
go.
The by the time it gets out my mouth. So I'm kind of thinking about Brass Sun and thinking about like the conversations we've had about folk horror before. Like, do you does folk horror have to take place as like can folk horror kind of exist as a sci-fi element, not as a supernatural one, but what I'm saying is when you folk horror tends to be rooted in ancient things, the past, the unknown of the known sort of
Hmm.
thing. But doesn't that also kind of exist in space?
Well, and I mean, not even in space. High Rise by J.G. Ballard.
Mhm.
I would say is folk horror, because it is dealing with the horror of the ordinary, of the known and the unknown, um, and how one does not need to go to space. One does not need aliens,
Yeah.
and the supernatural to find horror. So no, absolutely. I think it's one of those things where ultimately you'll get people who are purists who are like, no, no,
Mm.
no, this is the type parameters for this thing. But actually, all genres, all storytelling blurs between lines. It's not like a line; it is like a nexus of certain elements coming in. And um, for me, one of the key elements of Brass Sun that really makes it work is that religious aspect of
Yeah, yeah.
the confusion of science and religion, um, into a system that leaves both things vulnerable.
Yeah,
Um,
that's kind of where that thought came from, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so, for those who haven't gone back and read the original Brass Sun story, the premise is that there's this entire solar system of planets which are just they are a giant life-size orrery, the mechanical, the clockwork solar
Which is
systems that
so cool.
it's just absolutely incredible. Um, and it's winding down. The machine is winding down. The sun is cooling. The planets one by one are freezing. All life on them is being extinguished. And as this crisis unfolds, the grip of the religious zealots on certain worlds grows ever stronger. Um, because the response, the natural human response to crisis is to impose order in some way, shape, or form. And when you actually have no control over the crisis, you tend to lock on to uh, manners of behavior which are themselves counterproductive, but give some semblance of reassurance. Um,
We like
and
to try and find reason.
oh, yeah,
Desperate for reason.
don't we just? Don't we just? And so with Bresson, I think there's something that so something very fundamentally 2000 AD, but also it's actually quite an unusual series for 2000 AD. And it's interesting that the two series that I would actually place together in this corner of 2000 AD are drawn by the same artist, which is Ian Culbard.
Mhm.
And it's Brass Sun and it's Brink.
Yep.
These long, slow burn sci-fi series, and Brink blends sci-fi with horror, and Brass Sun blends sci-fi with fantasy. And so, yeah, they take a lot. Like in this week's episode, very little happens. It's a conversation on a planet, but actually, and it's reacting to an incident that happened last week.
Mhm.
But this moment of pause, of reflection, is so rich with color, both physical and metaphorical. It's Septimus who is Ren's former companion on her original quest to try and restart the sun, but he is now effectively the one who's hunting her,
Mm.
um, and yeah, just to be able to take an entire episode and just go, and now a bit of quiet so we can contemplate what is happening.
Well, and
And next week, more action.
and we've kind of talked about this on the podcast before, which is like those in between moments are actually really valuable. And
Yeah.
especially because when you're playing the long game and you get that moment to breathe in between, it makes the ripple effect even more. Like, because you
Mm,
can't even in and even in episodes of the prog where nothing's happening, I say, quote unquote, there's a lot of underlying stuff
mm,
there.
mm.
There's a lot of echoes, both of what has just happened and what's about to come. It's just that you have to pay attention to it. I did think this was a uh, surprisingly green one,
I mean,
which
I mean, I'll put this up on the screen on
that ain't gonna
YouTube.
show up.
Yeah, that ain't going to show up at all. Um, but the wonderful kind of stillness of this opening page. You know, you've got five
Mhm,
panels, four equal panels that take up the width of the page, but then about three quarters of well, four fifths of the height of the page, and you're zooming in. You know, it's this planet,
mhm.
and then it's this kind of dense foliage, and then you see Septimus standing there beneath a tree, and then you see him in a bit closer up, and that's confident storytelling, um, which for a comic like 2080, you wouldn't. I think a lot of people wouldn't necessarily expect, but this is where Brass Sun and Brink both excel because you've got this artist, Ian Colbard, who can do this measured, careful kind of moment stuff um,
I mean,
without.
that's all of these stories, is
Yeah,
measured, is
yeah,
careful. It's all very, very perfectly calculated because I think somehow with the end game being known by the creators behind it, there's
mm,
also enough to drag out so that there is a surprise element for everyone involved.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. And I go back to last week, and the color scheme is completely different. It's the
Mhm.
purples and the mauves and the blues of Ren. Um, and she's such a great character. Like I think it's very clear comparison with Lyra in his Dark Materials, um, in that she comes to embody her journey, and in Ren's case, she physically embodied. She's lost an
Yeah.
eye, like her face is scarred. Not
Mhm.
as is so often the cliche in a lot of science fiction. Well, a lot of mainstream literature, where physical imperfection is a sign of moral decay.
Yeah.
This is her journey writ large upon her face. These are the scars that she takes with her.
It's a very
Um,
literal interpretation of
Absolutely,
scars of the past.
absolutely. Um, and in many ways, I think that makes her. I was about to say quite unique. Um,
It's quite unique.
that makes her unusual. I think, particularly in comics, where physical, it's a so often, particularly in mainstream comics, a world of physical perfection. Um,
For the
that
most for the most part, although I think, you know what? I think that is the case particularly with female characters, less
oh
so with male characters.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I
interesting. Well done.
Well, I mean, this is a whole other discussion. It's a very interesting point about uh, a lot of imagery about men is intended to appeal to other men.
Yeah.
It's not the female gaze. You know, the female gaze is often very different to what men imagine it to be. And so much of media and literature is intended to appeal to images of men to appeal to men.
I actually
That's like a 2-hour conversation.
Well, I was gonna say, I think that would be well, especially because, hold on to your woke allegations, people. Am I right? But let me let me. I think people so often misinterpret what the male and female gaze are. So
Oh, yeah.
I would love to do an episode about both of those things within 2000 AD because that's a subject that I feel very passionately about.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think there's and
Because this is
particularly
a great
within
example of that,
yeah,
frankly.
yeah, and particularly within comics, if you know, I've I've lived through the eons. Let's be perfectly honest, but you know, I lived through the night. I started reading American comics in the 90s, where you know it was to be quite frank, bodybuilders and porn stars.
Yeah.
Um,
Broke backs,
yeah.
big titties.
And then you know that change it kind of changes into something else in the 2000s. Um, so yeah, that's a deeper subject for another time, I think.
But
Um,
Brass Gun would definitely be one to sprinkle in there for that discussion.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
We
And
keep
go on.
No, we just keep doing this. We keep starting to talk about one subject that we really like, and then it just branches off into, like, 5 other episodes that we need to do in the future. It's really annoying.
It is really
Like,
annoying, and somebody has complained about it as well. It's like, why don't you just stick like do the in depth thing? Stop kind of suggesting other episodes.
what?
It's fine. I'm very sorry. I kind of, particularly with like half-hour episodes, which I think is important because you know that's the best length for a kind of weekly podcast, really.
Yes.
Um, uh, that Go and do the reading. You know, in many ways, this podcast is intended as a companion to what we're
We
talking about,
don't wanna Yeah. We don't
rather
wanna
than
explain everything to you guys. We don't
exactly.
wanna do that. Read it and
But
interpret for yourself. We're merely here as the really inept puppet masters.
I was going to say we're the vessels, but you know you've gone the kind of manipulative route there.
Well, we're re but we're is it manipulation if you're bad at it?
Well,
Like
yeah, true, true. But yes, but absolutely, tell us what you think in the comments, both on YouTube and Facebook, Blue Sky, Instagram. We do need to get snippets of this up on Instagram. It's such a pain in the ass. But we'll take a look at those and respond to them next week. Thank you very much to Stuart Yates, who got in touch with a really great idea for a future episode.
Can you tell
Um,
me what it is?
no.
Oh, okay.
um, as you've done previous videos, the best starting point for Judge Dredd stories for those who are starting to collect all the Judge Dredd case files, would you consider doing a video where you discuss what stories that are not part of the case files editions, so collectors know what separate stories to collect, as well as informing where that separate story lands between case files, and if something within that story is mentioned again in future case files? Same goes for other omnibus editions of popular 2000 characters. Absolutely. I mean, the obvious one is Dredd because with
Yeah.
most of the other characters, um, they're probably undoubted. Well, certainly our main characters. They're all collected in order. But with Dread, there is whole chunks which either haven't yet been collected, or it's out of print, or things have superseded it. I mean, tracing coming back to our guest from last week, tracing the origin of the small house
Mhm.
all the way back to the beginning of Low Life.
Yep. Yep.
You know, that in of itself is a huge journey. So I'm being shouted at by a cat.
I'm gonna be thinking about that preemptively for whenever we decide to do it, because
Yeah,
that's a great topic.
yeah,
That would be
yeah,
really good. Because I mean,
absolutely.
God, there is so much collected.
Mm.
So it's kind of fun to find the little gems that are outside of that little
Yeah,
bubble.
yeah, and particularly, I guess for a lot of people, they come to something like the case files, which is 45 volumes now,
Yeah.
and the most obvious thing is to collect it from the beginning, start at the beginning and work your way through, and that's a completely legitimate way of doing that. But also, when you get into the kind of particularly early 2000s run of the case files, um, a lot of that, particularly when John Wagner is writing, is building on a lot of stuff scattered from the
Yeah,
previous,
because
20,
that's how
25,
it
30 years.
works.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, thank you very much to Stuart for that idea. We will pick up on that. Just going back to the theme of the episode with Brass Sun. Um, I'm so pleased that this is back
Yeah. I mean,
because it's just like I say, the pace of it, the style of it, the design of it, the setting of it. It's just um, when you've got Dredd, when you've got because Dredd's doing horror at the moment
mhm,
with Bob and Henry. You've got Rogue Trooper. I mean, in this episode, in this issue, you've also got an interlude from Nightmare in New York. You've got Void Runners, and all of these are. Oh no, that was all in the last issue. Sorry. No, in this. uh, in this issue, you've got Red Dragon, Brass and Void Runners, and Rogue Trooper and Judge Dredd, and so you've got lots of boom, 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 boom going on. Red
mhm.
Dragon is quite subdued, um, and then Brass Sun is just this. It's not even whimsy. It's just as you say. There's that element of the uncanny, and it's sci-fi and it's fantasy, and it
Yeah.
speeds up and it slows down, and it's got great characters, and it's a story that spans a long period of time, which is always something that when it's a weekly comic, you can do that.
Mhm.
You can have 50 episodes of something.
Yeah, you can have a moment of reprieve from all the madness that can happen within that too,
Yeah,
which is really, really helpful. I mean, Brass Sun's been it's even clear from the comments on the podcast where we've talked about it. Brass Sun's a favorite. Like, it
yeah,
has consistently been a favorite of 2000 AD fans, and so, yeah, more, keep dragging this out.
yeah.
Keep dragging it out. Like,
No, don't tell Ian that. He'll never finish it.
that's what
Come on,
we
Ian.
want.
Right. We are out of time.
Yeah, and we're only a couple of minutes over. We did a good job.
That pros. Just a reminder that we are at Thought Bubble in a week and a half, where we are going to be recording staff. We will bring you the fingers crossed the 2000 AD panel. There will we won't have these on the podcast, but there's also the talent search
Yeah.
competitions, which are always a lot of fun. Slight tweaks this year. We're doing them both. Both the panels are on the Sunday, so if you're coming along, make sure that you sign up. You submit your entries on the Saturday, but it's going to be fun. And I'm looking forward to it. And Chloe's going to be there also.
I'm gonna be there. I've got a 12-hour flight. I'm gonna die. But if you see me wandering around London before Thought Bubble, no, you don't.
You've got a 12-hour flight. I've got a 5-hour drive
Oh,
with
shut the fuck up.
British roads,
Nobody.
though, mate. British roads.
Ah, okay. Nobody cares. Do you know how it's like 5 hours? I'm like, yeah, okay. That's
You and your
n-
vast country.
yeah.
Right, we should be back in 7 days' time, Earthlets, for more from the galaxy's greatest podcast in orbit every Wednesday. Do drop us a line. Like Stuart, if you have a theme that you would like us to explore, that's thrillcast, all one word, thrillcast at 2000ad.com. We are on Blue Sky, we're on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we're on YouTube. So drop us a line that way. Let us know what you think of Brass Sun. We shall see you next time.
Yes.
And until then, Splendid Verthweg, Earthlets.
See you next week.
Get 2000 AD now. Get to.
Well, thanks for joining us on In Orbit every Wednesday, Earthlets. Make sure you like and subscribe and go along to 2000 AD, where you'll be able to subscribe to 2000 AD and the Judge Dredd magazine. Sign up to our newsletter and you'll get hundreds of pages of free comics to download. And download the app for your Apple and Android devices. Now, don't forget, Earthlets, this is the 2000 AD universe. We just live in it.